Hi, and welcome to the RubySorce podcast. Today, I've got Ben Broestl and Michal Korzawski joining me from eXp Realty. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Of course. So, as always, I'm going to start by talking a bit more about you guys and how you got into programming and when you started working with Ruby and that sort of thing. You guys are the first duo, tag team that I've got on the episode. So who wants to start?
Yeah, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cool. We'll go with Ben.
Yeah, so it was around 2017, and my best friend approached me with a startup idea. It was basically a app about making civil government, local government more accountable, kind of like a Rotten Tomatoes for cities. And it was a pretty cool idea for a web app. I knew nothing really about programming. I was techie, I was a geek. I loved hardware mostly, but I was the nerdiest person he knew. So he thought, hell, Ben could probably learn programming, right? So I started on Udemy, solo learn, stuff like that, started popping those open, trying to learn as much as I could, self-taught completely. And we decided to go with Ruby on Rails, companies like Twitter, Uber, or Airbnb, all those started with it. So it seemed like a good choice. Started learning that. But, after about 3 years of just trying to get that app going, it was tough. We had trouble with finding product market fit and users. We kind of shut it down, and I started applying to only a couple companies. I saw eXp Realty and sent them a resume, and that was about 2020. Got hired by them. I've been there ever since for three and a half years now. About.
Nice. You're I've been told that you're a bit of a Ruby rock star, though.
I am. I mean, as much as you could be in just 5 years or so. But yeah, I mean, I truly focus more so on the front end of stuff, especially now that Rails is even more front end heavy and accommodating for that.
Yeah.
But Michal and I are both full stack developers. We have to do a lot because we only have a 2-man team, but we could get more into that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll let Michal do an introduction as well. Michal, do you want to tell us a bit more about how you got into programming, when you started working with Ruby and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I was actually doing a lot of things before I became the developer. So I just really couldn't tell what was the first idea, and like the moment I can't think about the moment when I decided to be like a Ruby developer, but I remember that I always was into technology, and I always liked doing something on the computer. Was it even WordPress sites or stuff like that? But then there was a time when the bootcamp was quite popular in Poland, and I decided to just try it out.
Yeah.
And I did a little research, what kind of language should I start learning, and I was like looking at some local meetups, going there, listening to what people were saying, and I just decided to go with Ruby. So I signed up to the bootcamp, finished it, and then just start applying for a job, and I landed in one consultancy company where I spent 3 years, and then one of the clients in that consultancy company was eXp, and a lot of happens, but yeah, I stayed in the eXp after a year working there. And now I'm but I worked for like 2 years for EXP, 3 years in total, and like 5 years in general. So yeah, I started like 6 years ago, probably. That was a journey.
Yeah, you've got a slightly more unorthodox like entry into product, haven't you? Because you worked in a software house in Poland, but EXP was their client, so they essentially brought you in-house, which I mean happens, of course, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that often. Guys, tell me a bit more about, or tell us a bit more about EXP and what the company does, and like where you guys are based and that sort of thing.
Yes, so EXP was founded in 2009, and it was founded as a remote first company. So it's pretty cool. Even back then, which was pretty, unheard of.
Yeah, of course.
There was no like building headquarters that everyone went into. Everyone did it remotely. And, that was a sign of things to come, obviously, especially in 2020. But yeah, it was remote first. We're basically a real estate brokerage. We have nearly 90,000 agents under our company and working for our company. And we're in like 24 different countries now, which has been extremely rapid growth since I joined. When I joined, I'm not positive, but I think we had about like 40,000 agents. That was only a mere like 3 years ago. So it's been very rapid growth, and it's been a great company. The remote first, principle it has is awesome. We even use like this app called Verbella, where we all have like these computer avatars where we walk around and you can talk in this little world. It's very metaverse-y before even metaverse was a term.
Yeah.
So they've really embraced that type of, technical edge, bleeding edge that, and I think it's worked really well, especially for the real estate industry, which is pretty archaic, and prehistoric in many ways. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that like remote working 10 years prior to COVID,
Exactly.
like you said, is unheard of. And would you say that is, well, it's a positive, right, for EXP to have been in remote first for 10 years prior to when everyone else started doing it because they had to?
I think so. I mean, I've had people who are like, oh, do you miss working in an office? I'm like, hey, I never worked in an office.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's just that and it's so cool because when the pandemic hit and everything, and everybody's shifting, they're buying stuff off Amazon, building their home offices. I already had 4 monitors hooked up. I was good. I was good to go, man.
Yeah.
Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Hell, the only thing that changed is I started ordering more Uber Eats and stuff. That's about it.
Yeah, of course.
So,
of course.
And I think every employee at EXP, had that experience of there was no disruption for us, and I think that's one reason we did extremely well in the pandemic years.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be a reason why, for sure. And what about, so it's a US business, right?
It is, yeah. It was founded in the US, but we're expanding all over. And believe it or not, we're Poland, where Michal's from. They just opened up a new branch there. So,
and Michal, what do you Michal, what do you work on? Like, do you work on EXP's main products, or is there an arm of the business? Because obviously you're a 2-man team, so.
No. So yeah, we are actually we change a lot. I mean, the name of our department, let's say, changed a lot throughout the years. We started as a special project team. So we was like these 2-man special operators to quickly, just to quickly build some prototypes and MVP kind of things and move along with that. And we did that for like 2 years maybe, or 2.5, something like that. And now we are actually getting closer to the mainstream, which is cool. But still, what is something different from the rest of the company, in my opinion, we are just doing things much quicker, because how we used to and how we are working. So yeah, that's what we are doing now. We are just creating like products that helps our employees be more productive at work.
Yeah, it's mostly in-house products and apps. But yeah, it started as a special team, like Michal said. We're kind of like the
special ops team,
right?
Yeah. Okay, that's my image in my head is like two of you guys like parachuting into an empty field.
I wish I was that badass. I'd like break my legs on the way down, But if I had a computer, I could probably program something.
Yeah, of course, yeah. What about the stack? So what obviously it's Rails, Ruby Rails.
Yep.
What's the full stack?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Michal.
Okay, so the thing that we love about Rails was the Rails itself. So we didn't look for different technologies outside of Rails. So 3 years ago, when we started working together, we decided to go with a monolithic architecture, and that was kind of a brave choice, because back in the day there was a shift to just leave a backend API built in Rails, and the rest like whatever, React, Vue, Angular, what have you. And so we decided to go with the plain Rails, and on top of that we start adding these cool technologies like Seamless Reflex, Cable Ready, that allows us to build quickly our interfaces, and in my opinion, much quicker that we could do with like front-end framework. So yeah, that was actually a Ben idea. So I don't know how he find out about that, but it was way before the Turbo was introduced to the public. So yeah.
Yeah, and along those lines, like Michal was saying, now Rails is embracing this type of methodology more with Hotwire and Turbo, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But like 2.5 years ago, that those front ends tools were just getting into Rails, and they were mostly third-party type stuff. And Cable Ready and Stimulus Reflex and all those, which we embraced at that time, it just did wonders for our team to be able to spin stuff up very quickly. Vue component, Gem is another one by Joel Hawksley over at GitHub. That's been amazing because it allowed us to build a design library and components that you'd see like in React. One reason React is so popular, that we could reuse in a Rails monolith very quickly and build UIs and solve issues extremely fast, to the point where Michal and I have built 12 apps now, web apps, in just a mere 2 years. I mean, we even have more than that, but in terms of actually functioning apps and stuff that are out there, we've pumped out a lot of product in a short amount of time because of these tools.
This is for Ruby Stack, this cutting edge stuff though, isn't it really?
It is. And especially 2.5 years ago, it was extremely cutting edge. Most Ruby developers didn't even know about it, and let alone companies allowing their employees to implement these types of things, because it moves very slow. A lot of companies are still on Rails versions from years ago.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But our team has been blessed. Maybe it's our small team, maybe it's our manager, Seth Siegler, but we've been blessed with being able to just embrace that cutting edge, the bleeding edge, and implementing it. And we've accomplished a lot of things teams don't, and especially in massive public organizations like EXP.
Yeah, of course. And these 12 projects that or these 12 apps that you've built, tell us a bit more about some of the interesting ones.
Yeah, Michal, you want to talk about the Chrome extension?
Well, all of our apps are actually interesting in some regards. So we've been working on so many different applications and so many different. We try to introduce so many different ideas among those apps. So in my opinion, all of them are kind of unique and pretty cool because each app was slightly different. So and that's also something worth mentioning, that I can't think we have like two exact same applications in terms of architecture. I mean, the general architecture is the same, right? But there is always some kind of smaller or greater improvements inside the way how we build the application. So that's also cool because we are learning a lot of things. But what is now cool about this team is that we are not afraid of doing really crazy things, and like the latest what we are doing right now currently actually is the Chrome extension for one of our application, and yeah, that is also quite a learning curve for us because although we are pretty familiar with JavaScript, it is always something new, like building from scratch the whole extension, and especially the one that we are trying to build, which is pretty unique in a way that it's not like a pop-up windows that you normally see in every other Chrome extension. Is more like something that you the extension itself, you are injecting the code inside of the HTML of the host page, which requires us to think about a lot of additional things, be it like encapsulation of our code, for example, not to interfere with the code of the host site or stuff like that. And yeah, I love it. But we are working pretty much of a lot of different applications that I could probably tell a lot about that.
Oh, yeah.
I know, Ben, if you agree with that.
100%. And the, along those lines about, for example, the Chrome extension, working on that in this JavaScript world that, because we're from that, so on, we're separated from our Rails app. I mean, we use the API to communicate to them, but it really reminds Michal and I, we've had this discussion recently about how much we love the Rails architecture and the monolith and that stack, because now we're working in JavaScript, and nothing wrong with JavaScript, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But our abstractions we've built, our design libraries we've built, our methodologies that we've been honing now for 2.5 years kind of get thrown out the window. We're in a whole new ballpark, and it really makes us yearn and appreciate Rails even more, and the things that framework does, that heavy lifting that makes working so much easier.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just I was just going to say, you mentioned you mentioned, Ben, that it makes you love Ruby and Rails even more. Where do you guys see the language, see the framework heading?
That's a great question. I mean, it's evolved drastically. Just since we've been talking, like how I mentioned what we were doing with Stimulus, Cable Ready, and all that 3 years ago was just bleeding edge on Rails. I mean, now with Hotwire and Turbo, it's built into the framework. So they are keeping up. There's no doubt the Rails maintainers and those guys, they're keeping up with the way web development is progressing, and you know, they're giving us the tools by default in Rails now to do these amazing things that Michal and I have been doing for years now. So it's definitely evolving on the front end aspect of stuff. You know, getting rid of like Webpacker that was introduced into, what was that, Michal? Was that 5? Or
5 probably, yeah.
And, you know, allowing a lot more flexibility there. So Rails definitely is, I think it more than ever, it is ready for the future of web development. And that might be a bold statement because we've heard for years that Rails, you know, does Rails scale? Is Ruby dead? And I think it's the exact opposite. And there's a lot of trends now with server-side rendering coming back, and you know, everything new was old at one point, and and I think they're you know, they're going to spearhead it, and they're Rails. There's a reason Rails has been around this long, and you know, is this good of a framework. So I think it's got a bright future for it.
Yeah, I love it because it's kind of a bulletproof in a way. I mean, it's so battle tested by so many developers among the whole world, and from small companies till like very large organizations who use Rails right now. For example, well, GitHub is
GitHub,
right, a
Airbnb,
great example.
Yeah. Shopify.
So
Huge
if they can, if they can do it using Rails, so probably like 90% of different applications that are at the same or lower level, right? So yeah, I love it. I love that they embraced the front end in a way that it's much more approachable, in my opinion, right now, and it's really pleasure to work on that because it's just nice. It just feels good. So you just don't need to do all of the different things that we used to, and especially when there was like separate API and separate front-end application. And I've done that, and that wasn't as much fun as it is right now when you can yourself do as much and don't necessarily need to think about all of the overhead that you would need to when building two separate applications like front end and back end.
Yeah. So what's happening at the moment at EXP with regards to hiring? Like where are you guys? You know, where are you guys struggling?
Well, Michal mentioned that you know, this team, this small team now, is kind of growing into a bigger role in the company and taking on even larger projects, not just these smaller special moonshot projects. And with that, you know, we've been trying to fill some more roles and grow at least the development side of our team. And you know, it's been extremely difficult, believe it or not. And finding contractors, I know Michal was a contractor. He was so good that we brought him basically permanently on to our team. But to find talent like that is extremely difficult. It's something that we are struggling with a lot in our small team. Believe it or not, we've gone through a few contractors now that just haven't worked out, and that have been in the industry for 5+, 8+ years. And it makes you wonder, you know, where we are as an industry. We know there's, you know, a lot of jobs open now, less so. You know, the economy has been changing, so that could be a part of it. But we have been struggling to fill roles, and now, you know, we've kind of pivoted a little bit into thinking, well, maybe we should hire junior developers for our team and kind of grow them into more senior or mid software developers and mold them in a way to be able to help our team and, you know, grow that way and get our team a little bit more back up that way.
Yeah. Hey, that's as Ben said, it's not easy to find a perfect candidate, but even we tried not to find a perfect one. We just tried to find any candidate, and even that was not easy. I believe partly is because there is so many different shiny technologies right now on the market, and people don't tend to like focus on one and get to know one really well, like Ruby Rails, for example, and then move on to a new one. They just want to try that one technology, then try another, do like hello world here, and then a little application there. But then in the long run, it's not really beneficial for anybody, because what the company wants from you is that you will add some value, right, to the team. And when you're struggling with the easiest thing to do, well, that's not good. So like for what I'm looking for when I am trying to recruit somebody is if that person is really into the technology that we are using. Yeah. So if that person can like use the documentation even like on the spot, right? That's a good test, or just to debug something. And yeah, we found actually one person that we are happy with for now. So and it's a kind of a junior developer, but we think that's the way to find new people.
And along those lines, it's kind of funny because they really do not focus in one area. I think the contractor mentality hurts that. I think, you know, they build a Node app, and then, you know, 3 years later they build a Rails app, and then, you know, and so they keep jumping around. It's kind of like a master of none. And but we need people who have very proficient knowledge in just this Rails monolithic stack. And it's less like that now every day. I mean, boot camps don't really do that. They do for like React and stuff, but again, I think people jump around and they have they get a bunch of different jobs, and it just leaves a type of depth of knowledge to be, you know, lacking. And I think that's one of our big issues, is finding someone who has truly spent 5 years in Ruby on Rails.
Have you guys got the bandwidth though, between you to train somebody up?
I mean, not really. You know, we're extremely busy just as a two-man team, right? So
yeah, of course.
So when you take on a junior, you're taking on hours of training and hours of helping them out to get where they need to be. And this is the whole, you know, chicken and egg thing, kind of, is the investment worth it? And you know, when we do invest in them, you know, in 6 months, it might be worth it, but they could also leave the team or go elsewhere, and then we lose that investment.
Yeah.
So that poses a problem within itself.
Yeah, of course. And we'll finish off. We're talking about your engineering blog. So
yeah, it's really cool. EXP, you know, we're a tech company, you know, so we wanted to kind of get that knowledge out there more. And we, inside the company, we formed a small team, a blogging team for for the apps and projects we work on, we talk a lot about a lot of different subjects. We have most of our tech is built in Mendix, which is a type of programming language, a lower code programming language. And there's a few articles on that programming language. And then there's a few Michal and I wrote, primarily Michal, about Rails, our Rails apps and some cool subjects on that. So Sawan, I could get you the link so you can maybe add it to the bottom of the YouTube page.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Michal, did you want to talk about the blog at all?
Oh, not much to add. It's not much to add to what Ben just said, but yeah, I agree 100%. And I believe, it's not good to talk about myself that, oh, please read my articles. They're great, but
this is an interview though, Michal, about us, right?
Yeah, this is like your stage to talk about yourself. This is the only time you can do that.
Yeah. So anyhow, when I was asked to maybe if I'm interested in writing some post, I thought, okay, I could do it, but only when the topic will bring some value to the community and to different developers maybe. And so I am not writing about some obvious stuff or stuff you can easily find in the documentation. I usually write about like things that were difficult for me, something that I was struggling with while developing, and maybe some kind of ideas how to go about different kind of things, something just to start a discussion, and maybe to be corrected by somebody else, because why not? This is also a learning thing for me, right? So I enjoy it, and I hope that it will bring also some value to others.
Sure, absolutely. Cool. So if anyone wants to reach out to you guys, if they're interested in working for EXP, or just wanting to chat with two decent Rubyists, hopefully they will reach out if anyone's listening. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. I've very much enjoyed our conversation.
Me as well, Sawan. It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Cool.
Thanks for
Thank you.